What's up and welcome into today's video where I'm gonna be sharing with you a killer opening line for black against the white's first move pawn to e4. You can respond pawn to d5, which looks like a Scandinavian defense, but after that, the trick is after the next moves, which is the main line here, instead of taking the pawn, which is what black players usually do here, you go bishop g4, which is so-called Portuguese variation. And yes, it arises from the Scandinavian defense, but in fact it is a totally standalone line. I played this line myself a lot, especially in Blitz, with great success, just because the following black's moves are easy and aggressive, while it's totally unclear for white how to react here. Okay? Usually they either play pawn to f3 to attack your bishop or bishop to e2. Let's start from pawn to f3, which is the most aggressive way of playing for white, and after that I'll show you how to react if white goes bishop to e2. Let's start with pawn to f3, the most ambitious move. They're attacking your bishop, kicking it back, and after that they want to keep that central pawn on d5, so they play pawn to c4 to protect the d5 pawn. After that you go pawn to e6, kind of offering an exchange, but here comes another trick. After they capture the pawn, instead of recapturing, you keep playing in a gambit style. You go knight to c6, because you aim for quick development and you want to start attacking white. Notice that right now black already has 3 minor pieces in the game, and the black's bishop is ready to join the party, while all of the white's pieces are still on their initial squares. This already goes to show you that black has great chances to start the attack really early in the game and to finish it off. I can't stop myself from sharing with you the statistics of this line. Here's the game database from Lichess, and here in this corner you can see the percentages of games won by black. And as you can see, 72, 73, all the top lines are greatly successful for black. And pretty much if you look at all of the options that white tried here, in the vast majority of the cases black is dominating. They're really killing it. Also, if you look at the players who use this line, you can see here Magnus Carlsen playing black. It just shows you how really strong this line is. Let's go ahead and see what you should do next. White will here most probably capture an f7 because it looks lucrative for white to do that, and to keep the material advantage as well as to expose your king. But in fact, it once again helps black to kind of develop, because now when the king is there on f7, your rook in the future is ready to go to e8 and to join your attack. Anyway, let's see what white can play here. They usually do something to protect that pawn on d4, because right now it's been attacked by your knight and queen, and white either push the pawn forward or play bishop e3. And I'll show you both of these lines in a moment. Let's start with bishop to e3 to protect that pawn. In this case, your next moves are really easy and natural, super easy to remember because you just develop. You go bishop b4 check, what covers the king, you go rook to e8. Just like we discussed before, you can see that, in fact, the white's decision previously to trade pawns on f7 only helped black. Now your rook is super active along the e-file, attacking the bishop and now also pinning it, and that is why white has to move the king actually, because the move like queen to d2 to protect the bishop would not help at all, because black can have this boom, queen takes d4. The bishop is pinned, and here black is winning. They have just too many threats to handle. Let's say they trade off the queens. Now the bishop is attacked. You're threatening knight to c2 will attack off everything in the white's position, and here you're surely gonna win. We saw that queen d2 doesn't help to really, and white has to play king f2 to not only protect the bishop but also to eliminate this pin along the e-file. But in fact, you have here the forcing victory, which is not that easy to find if you're not familiar with this line, and that is why white players so often fall into this trap. It starts with rook takes e3, inviting the white's king to go forward. But even after that, it's still totally unclear how to proceed here further and how to finalize your attack. The move here is bishop to c2. Another brilliant move. You're trying to deflect the white's queen from the protection of the d4 pawn. And if white now captures the bishop, then you go queen takes d4 check, and after king e2, your final piece goes into the attack, rook e8 check, and as you can see, the white's king is going to be checkmated very, very soon. Let's take a few moves back. We know that this line is losing for white, And it was right at the position after black played bishop c2. We know that capturing the bishop is not an option for white, as black can capture that pawn on d4. But what if white goes queen to d2? What's the point of that move bishop c2 at all? It doesn't seem to change anything really, but it does, because black here has another shocking move, knight to g4 check, sacrificing the knight seemingly for nothing, but after white captures it, you go queen g5. And here you can notice the idea. Not only attacks the king, but also the queen, the two white's most valuable pieces. And after something like king to e2, you go rook e8 check, forcing the white's king away, and after that you capture the queen, thus winning the game, winning the queen, and finalizing the attack very soon. Within the next moves, the king will be checkmated. Let's come back to one of the main positions of this whole variation. We have just analyzed white playing bishop e3 to protect that pawn on d4 that way. However, the most popular move by white is pushing the pawn forward, which looks good at first to attack your knight, looks aggressive, but in fact it's totally wrong, because it only helps you to go forward and to create threats. Now your knight is aiming to go knight c2 with a double attack to the white's king and the rook, which also forces the white's knight to go to that awkward position on a3, totally out of the game, just to protect the c2 square. After that, you go bishop c5, taking advantage of another weakness which was created by white pushing his pawn forward. Now you've got this super monstrous bishop on c5, which takes a look at, all of these weaknesses in the white's position, prevents white from castling in the future potentially, and it just plays this significant role in your attack. White would probably play something like bishop e2, you go rook to e8, and just look at this position, how dominant black is. All of his pieces are active, and white is just stuck there. They almost can't move at all. And, the white's knights can't really move. The bishop is pinned, white can't castle. White is just totally paralyzed, and it's going to be super easy for you to actually finish your attack here. In case white plays something like bishop g5, I'd like to ask you to think about this and to let me know in the comments down below, how would you proceed here for black if you are playing this position? And before we move on to the final variation of the Portuguese Gambit that you need to know, let me take a moment to congratulate you on the International Father's Day. I think that it's a great holiday for chess players because, while in general it's great to honor the fatherhood, most of the chess players that I know were introduced to chess by either their fathers or grandfathers. And I'm also trying to teach chess to my daughters, even though since they're too young, for now it looks more like rugby with chess pieces. But anyway, I'm trying my best. And to celebrate this occasion, we are now offering discounts on all of our courses, and therefore within the next few days you can get any premium course of the Remote Chess Academy at a greatly discounted price, and you may click the link below the video and find the course that you would enjoy the most. Also, you may consider the package, which is a bundle of all of the courses that I've ever created, and while it's already has a discounted price because it's a bundle, within the next few days you can get an additional discount on that already discounted price, which makes the overall discount really huge. Once again, if you're interested, you may click the link below the video and check this out for the next few days only, and we're moving on to the Portuguese Gambit. Once again, you can play this gambit if white goes pawn to e4 on the first move. You go pawn to d5, after that knight f6, the main move is pawn to d4, and here we go bishop g4 to surprise your opponents. We analyzed the move pawn to f3, a lot of players play that. The second most popular move, or even maybe the most common, is bishop to e2, which is actually totally not dangerous for black, because after that you just trade off the bishops, you take the pawn on d5, not only you're taking the pawn, you're also attacking that weak pawn on g2, and therefore white will probably castle to protect the pawn. You go knight to c6, and your position is just good. If you look at it, you're already more active than white, which is a rare case for playing black. You're also ready to make long castling, and therefore to increase the pressure onto the white's weak pawn d4. So white is already in some little bit of a trouble here. If they go knight to c3 to attack your queen, you just move it to h5, which also puts a little bit of pressure to the white's position potentially. Therefore, white will probably go knight g3. If they do something else like bishop e3, then you castle, and it's great because again, you're now ready to go e5, taking advantage of the pin, and the queen on h5 in some variations will help you to go knight g4 and attack the h2 square. Everything looks just great. Let's take a move back. That's why instead of bishop e3, white often goes knight to g3, offering the exchange of queens. And it's perfectly fine for you to trade off the queens. That would give you an absolutely equal endgame with no problems, but I would recommend that you be even more aggressive and play queen g6, even though, just like I said, both options are equal. But practically, I think queen g6 puts more problems to white, because after that, if they go, let's say, bishop e3, you castle, and you can just see that white's position is a little bit unpleasant. Well, there is nothing too critical at the moment, but you're ready to play e5, once again attacking that pawn, taking advantage of the pin, and your pawn on the h file is ready to go forward, h5, h4, attacking the knight and helping you to expand there and to start the attack there on the king side. And overall, I would say that white already needs to be really careful not to get into serious troubles within the next few moves. And that is why, while position is playable, of course, it's approximately equal objectively, practically it's much easier for you to play it as black. For example, let's say white goes knight c2, which is one of the popular moves. You go pawn on e5 to put pressure on the white central pawn. If they protect it, you now go h5 to attack on the side, threatening pawn to h4, and after that potentially pawn to h3, attacking the knight. And as you can see, white already needs to be super careful, or else they can be checkmated within the next few moves. So that is a really powerful weapon, opening weapon for black. I hope that you will crush a lot of your opponents playing like that. Don't forget to click the link below the video and check out our premium courses, because the special offers are only good for the next few days if you're interested in chess improvement, or else just good luck with your chess battles, and I'll talk to you soon.